Is Apple Intelligence and Siri finally good, or is it still playing catch up to Google and Samsung? Want to get into VR? Is the Quest 3S the headset for you? Thinking of getting a frame TV? Here are some tips for mounting setups. And if you're trying to buy a Kindle today, which one is worth your money? Welcome to episode 2 of Ask TG. This is the show where I grab your comments and questions from our recent videos and get you answers from our Tom's Guide experts. And if you've got a burning question that you want us to answer next time, just use the hashtag AskTG. I'm gonna give you a call, John. What's your thought on the latest versions of Apple Intelligence and the revamped Siri?
So I feel like Apple is piecemealing the whole rollout versus what you see with the other competitors like Google and also Samsung. When they unveiled their AI features, they all came out at the same time. But what I've tried out so far is promising. For example, you said Siri, the new Siri is much more intelligent. I love that Siri is more conversational. The coolest feature I've seen so far with iOS 18.1 with Apple Intelligence is the cleanup feature with the photos. Magic Eraser has been around for a while now with Google, but I think Apple has a more intuitive interpretation. It knows exactly what you're trying to select. Is it better than Magic Eraser? That's questionable. I actually wrote a piece on that about which is better. Any other tools like that that you think maybe gives Apple an advantage compared to like Samsung and Gemini? I'm actually testing out the iOS 18.2 developers beta, and with it is visual intelligence. And that's the next level for the iPhone, because now you could use the camera to do a bunch of things. It's kind of like Google Lens or Google Gemini, because now you could just take a photo, it'll research the information for you. For example, this car here I'm test driving right now, it'll tell me what it is. I could ask follow-up questions. There's ChatGPT integration. So if I want to know how many miles I get out of this EV, it'll do the research for me. I don't have to open up another app. So in that sense, it's great. But like you said earlier, it's still playing catch up.
What are you test driving today?
BMW i4 M50, shimmery, lustery red paint job. It got more compliments than any other car I've test driven. The handling is excellent. You take those tight corners really good. It's just exhilarating. Don't forget to watch our full review on the BMW i4 channel. See you then.
Next up, if you're interested in getting into VR, maybe you've dabbled with it a bit, or you're trying to find a headset that's worth your money, is a Meta Quest 3S the way to go? Well, I've been using the Quest 3 for, almost a year now. But also a couple months ago, I had the chance to try out the Apple Vision Pro. During that experience, I actually was able to appreciate what $3,500 got you at the end of the day. And one of my main takeaways was, no, it's not worth it to me, but I wish I had that user interface. I wish I had, the apps, the entertainment. That made it really great, but at the same time, it also showed for $500 and now basically for $300, the 3S, the budget version of this, how close these headsets get to the Vision Pro. Now, having said that, this is a very powerful device, and even though I'm in a more unique spot where I don't really use this for entertainment or playing games as much, it's more for productivity when I don't want to use that monitor. I basically am getting a much bigger workspace on the go than my 49-inch ultra-wide in this headset. And I can use it anywhere, train, plane, car, to get, the same performance, but with a slightly lower resolution on the $299 3S. I wouldn't be surprised if they were selling it at a loss, honestly, because they're making their money on the software and the accessories, with a lot of people who are either upgrading from the 2, maybe the original 1, or haven't even tried out VR. The Quest 3S is an incredible value, and it's a great introduction, but it's also a great medium ground, I think, for a lot of people, where you're getting a lot of value and performance. But yeah, if you've been on the fence about trying VR, you can't go wrong with the 3S. Hey, Kate.
Hey, what's going on?
So we actually have someone who commented on our last video asking about the Frame TV. They need tips for mounting it. So they don't want to be too low that it feels like a traditional TV. So they've got a wall that's 9.5 feet tall, and they're probably going to be sitting about 10 feet away from the TV. So they want to know what the ideal height should be.
I mean, look, the standard recommendation is based on having a directly centered eye-level view whenever you're sitting on the couch. So when it comes to mounting, I think that more specific recommendation is about 45 inches off the ground to the center of the TV, but most people aren't really going to do that because if you're looking at it visually or from like a home aesthetic perspective, you're mounting it in a place where you might have some other stuff set up on the wall. I think it could look a bit off, but I would look to mount it maybe closer to 60 inches from the center off the ground. I think that might split the difference between the so-called traditional standard to having, the full effect of something mounted on your wall.
So with that said, let's say you have other pieces of furniture or like maybe even a fireplace or something like that. Would you say that the rules kind of differ?
100%, yeah. So I think if you're going for that wall art effect and that's the priority, that's what you're paying the premium for, I definitely think it's worth compromising. Think about it this way. If you're getting a TV that can emulate art so it can look really nice on your wall, why wouldn't you hang it and have wall art? First, get that direct line of sight, then maybe go up about 10 to 15 inches.
If you were to buy a brand new TV right now, would you have your mind set on a frame TV? I know you also really like OLEDs.
I think the frame TV, it usually goes down to it could be up to $1,000 off, honestly, depending on the size. That said, OLED is usually the best bang for your buck, and TV deal season is definitely upon us. An OLED TV is pretty different from a frame for what it's worth. It's also a bit more forgiving with that off-angle viewing. What I think most people want to know about TV deals-wise is related to LG OLED TVs specifically, which makes sense. It's the leading OLED brand and often among our top-rated options. The best deal I've seen so far is for the LG C4, which is one of this year's flagships. It's 45% off in that 55-inch size, and I think if you can get a 55-inch or a 65-inch OLED TV and see it for under $1,400, that's a pretty great find. And if you're willing to compromise on a TV that's a year or two old, you might even be able to get a TV in one of those sizes closer to $1,100.
I don't think Tony's online right now, but I'm curious to see what he thinks about this. Okay, so let's put it this way. For reading books primarily, I know Tony reads a lot of comics. It'll be interesting to see what he says about that. Let's put it out this way. He thinks it's for Tony because Tony reviewed it. What did Kate send? She went with the Kindle Paperwhite. Kate with the Kindle Paperwhite. John with the cheap HD tablet. Anthony, regular Kindle. Once you try black and white e-ink, it's hard to use anything else. Think of it as blue light glasses for your books that you don't have to wear. The Paperwhite is a bit better though. I'm not that eager to upgrade, no. Given my Kindle is less than 2 years old, still in good condition. All right, finally, we got a reply from Tony. He's going with the Kindle Color Soft since he likes seeing his book covers in color. But for those who don't really care about that, which I guess a lot of people might not, he suggests the Paperwhite since it has a nice 7-inch display. Regular Kindle is nice, but might be too small for some people, sure. I wouldn't recommend an iPad if you're primarily reading since you'll get too many distractions, plus Kindles produce less or no eye strain. And I think that's a big one. As much as I do love reading on my iPad, during the day, like in my living room, it's fine. It's definitely bright enough. But as soon as one of two things, I go outside, it's either completely washed out and I can barely read it, or when it comes to nighttime, even on its lowest setting, and when you put its color shift, so it's a little bit more yellow on the page, it's still not, the same as reading with a nice soft light and reading a traditional book. An iPad for $349 or Cheapfire HD for $75. From my noob point of view, the Paperwhite is amazing and I'd buy it. If you can get the 2021 model at a good price, it might be worth it since upgrades are small. Oh, okay, there you have it. Minor upgrades, might as well look for the previous model, save a bit more cash. That's probably the way to go. I'm also curious as well how many people can relate to this if you were to compare having a tablet, which can do so much, you can play your games, your movies, your shows, whatever, versus just something that's supposed to be a modern version of a book. I feel like I might be more likely to read more with a product that's dedicated as a book replacement versus something that can replace my books and everything else. That's also worth thinking about. That's it for episode 2. Use the hashtag AskTG for your chance to get featured in another episode. Follow us everywhere at Tom's Guide. You can follow me to see what I'm reviewing next. Until next one, catch you later.